Welcome back to another awesome episode of Life on the Ave. We are super, super excited to have our new friend, Coach Moore, here. How are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah.
Can I call you Coach
Exciting.
Moore?
Yeah. Coach Moore is good. My name is also Jeremy, but
Also,
you
Jeremy.
can call me whatever you want.
But Kayla sent over your bio with Coach Moore. So in my head, I've been reading Coach Moore for the last 24 hours. So now that's just your name.
Cool.
First name Coach, last name Moore.
I'll take that.
But this is Jeremy Moore. So we kind of start off giving a quick bio. So any of our listeners that are like, okay, who is Jeremy Moore? Let's get into it. So here's your quick little bio. We say we're giving you your flowers. So Coach Moore grew up in Bellefonte, Wilmington, Delaware. From a young age, he has been committed to giving back to his community and to his country. A life-changing injury suffered during his time in Afghanistan led him to discovering an impactful blend of physical, emotional, and mental recovery. In 2018, More Than Fitness was born. Coach Moore has over 20 years of working with youth development. He has many certifications and awards, but is most proud of his military service, as you should be, the Jefferson Service Award, and being a Mount Pleasant High School grad. In his free time, Coach Moore is constantly working to improve the More Than Fitness programs to better build productive members of society. And for those of you that don't know, More Than Fitness was founded with the mission of providing people with the tools to build strong bodies, resilient minds, and unbreakable spirits. More Than Fitness believes that the right coaching of mindfulness, meditation, personal growth, and physical fitness can address the mental and emotional challenges that impact everyone. To date, More Than Fitness has positively impacted the mental resiliency of hundreds of individuals in Delaware with the support of donors and advocates. More Than Fitness programming includes multidimensional fitness disciplines in addition to the meditation, mindfulness, and resiliency practices. So welcome to the pod.
Thank
It's a lot. It's a mouthful, I know. And it's always weird, I think, for people to hear their own little bio. So yeah, take us back to the beginning.
Yeah,
Here you are.
that was very strange to listen to that.
Good. I hope it was.
I think I'm pretty sure I wrote that,
Probably.
but had to kind of disconnect from.
Yeah,
It's hard.
it's hard.
I'm simultaneously very confident and bordering on egotistical, but
Love that. Me too.
also
We have that in common.
I'm like,
Right.
I
You don't like to brag.
bragging about
Yeah,
stuff. It's
yeah.
weird.
I get it. I get it.
So yeah, it's strange. It's strange to hear
I
that.
always say don't mistake my confidence for cockiness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Some people might
Little
think
bit of
I'm a
both.
little bit cocky.
It's a good thing to have. It's a good thing to
Yeah.
have. So yeah, take us back to the beginning. You're from here.
Yeah.
Wilmington, Delaware. You went to Mount Pleasant.
Mhm.
Where'd you grow up? Like the North Wilmington, Claymont area?
In Bellefonte. Yeah,
Bellefonte.
yeah. So
Nice. You've been there forever.
right down the street from Mount Pleasant High School.
Awesome. Awesome.
Which is right up the street from the property that we run now.
Cool. So you graduate from Mount Pleasant, and did you go right into service?
No, I was kind of an underachiever in high school. I did enough to just to get by.
Yeah.
And at that time in the early 2000s, everybody was supposed to go to college. That's what you were supposed to do. Go
Right.
to college, go to college.
Right.
So I didn't want to go to college,
Right.
but I didn't have the language to articulate that. And everybody else was doing it. And my teachers were like, you should go.
Right.
So I went and I just struggled
Where'd you go?
through it. I went to Deltech and
Nice.
I went to Wilmington University.
Yeah.
Then I went to the University of Delaware.
Yep.
And it didn't work out at any of those places.
Yeah. Similar
For-
story. My husband Vince, who you just met, similar story. He's been to 4 different universities and never graduated from any of them.
Oh, I have a degree.
Oh, good. Yay. We love that for you.
I got it after.
We
I
love
got it.
that. Good for
Yeah.
you for sticking it out.
Yeah, well, after service, the GI Bill paid for it. So.
Oh, nice. So after service, you finished it up.
Oh yeah,
good
before
for
service,
you.
I was a mess.
Okay, good.
I mean,
so you bounced
academic
around.
problems, behavior problems. There was all.
So
all
when
sorts.
did you decide to get into the service?
So I went after it didn't work out the third time. I thought maybe I should try something else.
Yeah.
So
How old are you at this point?
21.
Okay.
And so I did a program called AmeriCorps, and I went out west and worked for the Forest Service doing wildland firefighting and being out
Wow.
in the woods. It was.
Did you get
awesome.
recruited for that, or how did you come to that
So
conclusion?
it's a program that's actually available to, and I'm a big proponent of it. It's available to anybody between the ages of 18 and 24.
Cool.
And there are various different ways of doing it. I did the NCCC program, which I don't even know what the NCCC stands for, but it's basically like the military, but to be of service. So I moved out to Colorado, and I was going to go on these, like, I forget what they were called, but like missions essentially
Sure.
to help out different communities building trails. Like some people went and did taxes, some people went down to New Orleans and were helping to rebuild houses.
Got
And I
it.
just chose this wildland firefighting thing.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, so when I was out there, I was like away from this community.
You're still in Colorado?
Yeah, still in Colorado.
Right.
And I had always been interested in the military. That was always something that I thought I might want to do, but it's not very popular here.
No.
There's not a lot of vets that live here. My family, the only vet that was in my close family was a Vietnam vet and had a rough time after coming back. So
Yeah.
it was, to them, it was like it was a scary thing,
Right.
and I recognized that. So when I was away in Colorado, I was able to kind of play out that idea without the outside influences.
Right.
And I've always been a pretty impulsive person.
Yeah.
So I just joined the army.
Wow.
Came back from Colorado and told everybody, like, I leave in 3 months.
Did you like shave your head? Like you like do the
Yeah.
whole thing?
I mean, I had already shaved my head in another dramatic
Right,
event
right.
of being spontaneous.
Right. I love that.
But yeah, I just came back and said, yeah, I'm going to go into the military, and and I knew right away that I wanted to be around or in the combat operations. Like, I knew enough about the military that there was a lot of jobs that you could do where that's just not part of the job, where
Right.
you can be supporting the
Sure.
combat operations, and I wanted to be,
Wow.
I wanted to be a part of it. So
God bless you. That's amazing. Well, thank you for your service.
appreciate it.
So then what? Like when do you go? You go to Afghanistan.
Yeah.
When
Yes.
was that?
I went to Afghanistan in 2012. I joined the army in 2010, and I trained from 2010 to 2012.
Wow.
Went to a bunch of, like, really cool schools and did field exercises and basic training and this and that, and recognized that I had this combination of, like, I really enjoyed the combat element of it, but I had some other skills in my MOS was human intelligence collector. So working with
With
people,
people. Cool.
psychology and sociology.
Wow. What was your degree in?
I got after I got out, I got my bachelor's degree in just general studies. It's
Nice.
like,
Yeah.
thanks,
Graduate.
thanks for your service.
Yeah. Cool.
And then I used the GI Bill to get a master's in nonprofit management
Wow.
and in mental health counseling.
Wow. Holy smokes. Educated.
I did a lot after. I think in the army, I learned that I was smart. I was just under the impression that I wasn't smart.
No, you just
'Cause I
weren't put
didn't
in the
learn.
right seats. You
I
weren't.
didn't learn well
Yeah.
in the regular school environment, and I also didn't really care.
Yeah.
I was like, whatever.
Right.
I can never do homework and graduate high school, and I
Right.
did. I
Well, you're naturally smart.
I read
Yeah.
one book and wrote one paper.
Right.
Every time I was in high school.
Right.
It's not that hard.
Yeah, the traditional school system is not for everyone. Like sit down at a desk all day and let me talk at you. I think we kind of need to shift how our schools are doing it these days. So you're probably a prime example of that. So you go to Afghanistan, and when do you suffer the injury, and what was your injury?
Yeah, so I was there about 9 months.
Long time.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Yeah.
It, like, simultaneously felt like no time and
Yeah.
forever.
That's what it's like to have a baby.
Feels like, yeah,
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Yes.
So you know
I
exactly
feel-
the amount of time.
Yeah. 9 months. 9 months. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and so after, on a dismounted, so like a walking patrol, we were out walking at night. I was walking along, and like the next thing I knew, I had this sensation of falling, and I thought, like, I must have stepped on an IED, because this is so ridiculous. I don't know what this feeling is.
Right.
I stepped on an IED. I'm probably blowing up
Right.
now.
Dead. Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I'm thinking, so I'm not dead.
I'm alive.
And I could feel the sensation of falling. And I had this flash memory back to one of the classes that we took where they talk about Afghanistan, and they talked about these wells that were all over that people could fall in. And I kind of knew what I was in.
Right. It clicked.
I was falling long enough for all of that to happen.
Holy smokes.
So I threw my arms and legs out to try and slow down. And at first I didn't feel anything. And then I was like pinballing down. I woke up at the bottom of a hole at like
Wow.
2 o'clock in the morning in the middle of Afghanistan. I was pretty shook, to
Yeah.
say the least.
But you had people with you?
Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't by myself.
Nice. Thank God.
So they waited. I can vividly remember recognizing how vulnerable they were
Mhm.
because we were out in the open and
In the dark.
the sun was going to come up and then everybody was going to see. And
Wow.
I was really, I vividly remember being terrified of that, but I wasn't thinking about anything else. I was all tore up.
Yeah.
So we were out there and the options that I got was, you can wait until we can get the equipment out here to lift you out. Or we can lift up everything that we can with these ropes and you can climb out.
Holy smokes.
And so I was scared.
Yeah.
So adrenaline is super powerful.
Yeah.
So I climbed out.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It was,
That's terrifying, but holy, that's insane.
yeah, it was like 60 feet.
Oh my gosh.
I did about 45 of it by myself. And then the last 10 feet, it was,
So they're at the top, like pulling you up, like
at first it was just me. There was no,
just get to the rope.
there
Yeah.
was nothing.
Oh
I
my
was on
God.
my own. I remember thinking, like, if I fall again, I'm going to die.
I'm dead.
I can't possibly survive this
Yeah.
again. And so once I got to the top, then they threw the rope down. They pulled me up because I had my foot like in both worlds, in the intelligence world, and I wanted really desperately to be a part of this combat unit. I was like, I'm fine.
I got this.
I really wanted to be okay.
Yeah.
So I got up to the top and eventually I put all my stuff back on and I was like, no, I'm good. Like they asked me many times that I want to get medevaced, have a helicopter come and pick me up.
Right.
And I was like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. And so I ended up walking for a lot longer after that.
Then you maybe needed to.
For sure that I needed
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
Things started to deteriorate. I was starting to trip over my own feet. My brain was getting real foggy.
The adrenaline's wearing off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I got back to the base. And then from there, it was like, I was on a stretcher.
Right.
And like I was on a stretcher for a long time after
Right.
that.
Right.
Just on like really heavy pain meds.
Wow. And when are you just like discharged? Like when
Yeah. So
do they make that call?
I was delusional. I wanted to get
Right.
better.
Yeah.
At this point, over in a 3-month period, lots of medical things happened. And eventually I ended up back at Fort Bragg, which is where my unit was, the 82nd Airborne Division. And I was walking with a cane and really struggling to get around. Like I needed another soldier to
Right.
take care of me.
Right.
His job all day was to just be with me. Like I couldn't take a shower by myself because I might fall.
What part of your body is
Yeah.
injured?
So I forgot. So I heard a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I broke 17 bones in my legs and feet.
Wow.
I had 2 fractures in my vertebrae. I had a spinal cord injury. I ripped 3 ligaments in my shoulder. I broke all my ribs on this side of my body. And I had a traumatic brain injury.
But you got up and walked.
Yeah, adrenaline is real powerful. It's
Wow. Holy
I wouldn't have
smokes.
believed it,
Yeah.
because after that, when I got off that stretcher, I didn't walk again unassisted for 7 years.
Right.
That was how long it took me. But when I first got hurt, I wanted to stay in because
You don't want to leave your team.
I
This
like-
is your, yeah.
I love deployment.
Yeah.
I would say, I mean, I'm not ignorant to the cost that I still deal with mental health problems from deployment, but it was like playing football my whole life and then finally getting to play in the Super Bowl.
Right.
Deployment was like the Super Bowl.
Right.
Like it was where I
It's a good analogy.
be.
Yeah.
And so I was really, I loved it there and I wanted to go back, and I had kind of found a niche of ways that I could use the fact that I now recognized I was kind of smart and that I was strong and young, and it was like
How old were you?
22.
Yeah.
It was the first
So
time that
young.
my aggressive nature
Yeah.
was an asset.
Right. It was a good thing.
Yeah, everywhere
Yeah.
else
You
it
were
was-
rewarded for it. Right.
So I tried to stay in for, it was like a year and a half of, I mean, and that I could talk for like 5 hours just on that year and a half of
Right.
right after I got hurt. But eventually, on the third recommendation, I accepted medical retirement
Wow.
just because
It was time.
I wasn't going to get better at the pace that they needed. I was filling up a slot of someone of a new soldier that could go on deployment.
Yeah.
I, you know, I got to a place where I could at least take care of myself, but not where I could be a part of a team.
Yeah.
I was still walking with a cane and,
Yeah.
and very emotionally unstable from the brain
Sure.
injury.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't recognize that in
In
the
it.
moment. but,
Totally.
like, I look back now and I'm like,
Yeah. Oh, duh.
that's insane.
Yeah.
So then I got out and I went home and I was
Back to Delaware.
24, 23, 24, and like back in my childhood bedroom.
Right.
I needed my parents to help take care of me. I had gone from, being a part of this really big thing and
Did you spiral?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
I had been really, I mean, I think other people would say this, but I think I was very well respected where I was
Yeah.
in the military. I think people really recognized what
What you
I
brought to
had
the
done,
table.
and like there was not many people who were walking around with canes and still getting like a good amount of respect and getting responsibility. Like they found a way to utilize my skills. And then
Wow.
I came home and like I was nothing. I was useless.
No purpose.
Useless.
Yeah.
With nothing to do. And yeah, I had already started spiraling while I was in,
Hmm.
but there's all this structure to keep me from really going
To
totally off
distract.
the rails.
Yeah.
And so when I was home, yeah, the spiral kind of began. For me, it was like I was working to not spiral, but at the same time, I was really spiraling.
Yeah.
So I was like going to college to get my bachelor's degree, but like drinking myself to sleep every
Right.
single night.
Right.
And
Dark.
yeah, it was rough. It was really rough. And I have a great relationship with my football coach from high school. I had maintained a relationship with him.
So does Vince. Vincent's the same way. Yeah.
And I went to go visit them and see him at practice. And he didn't say to me, but he said to somebody else, like, Jeremy is fucked up. We got to get him back in the fold.
Yeah.
Um,
Would you say this is the first time you realized, like, maybe I need some help?
oh no, I didn't realize I needed help at that point. No,
Right.
it was just like, this is the way my life is. I'm miserable. I got hurt. Everybody owes me everything. Like,
Right.
none of these people appreciate this. I was so bitter, and
So
really
young.
self-righteous. Like I would run across any civilian who I thought was entitled
Yeah.
or unappreciative, and it was like, this is your fault that my life sucks so bad.
Totally.
And I was just really miserable about that. So I didn't know. He put me in the weight room with these three football players.
Wow.
And I mean, it's not as simple as this, but like that saved my life.
Amazing.
It was really quick that I recognized that I could talk to them in a way that no one else in their life was. One, because I was really raw back then. And
More than now? This is pretty raw.
this is, this is tame.
Yeah.
compared
Yeah.
to
Okay. Okay.
The way that I was.
But they connected with you.
Yeah, and like I didn't recognize that I had trauma, but they had trauma too, and so there was a connection there. It was most of my students are Black, Hispanic, Asian, Latino, Latinx, whatever you're supposed to say now.
Yeah.
They're not. I don't have a lot of white students, but I went to Mount Pleasant. I was back at Mount Pleasant again. It was really incredible how quickly that the race stuff didn't matter because we were so bonded in having experienced trauma.
Yeah.
The psychology that connected us. And yeah, it encouraged me to be better. I don't
Right.
know
Here
if
you
it
think you're helping them and they're really helping you.
was- I don't even know if I was conscious of it
Right.
at first, but there was many times where I would think to myself, like, these kids they'll do whatever I say. They're stealing, they're taking traits from me, I need to have better traits. Like I'm not,
Be a good example.
yeah, I'm not setting a great example.
Right.
Like there's only
If I'm
hard
drinking
work.
myself to sleep, right?
Yeah.
Am I the best example for them?
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes you want to
My
be
life
better.
was like, let me work really hard on my physical recovery, like harder than anybody else. Like I ran 2 marathons on crutches
Insane.
because I just like was obsessed.
Yeah.
And then I and my I'm sober now, and my struggle with alcohol has always been very intense periods of drinking, some cataclysmic event as a result of drinking,
Totally.
me recognizing that it's a problem and then just white knuckling it through. And my white knuckling was like trying to achieve these physical feats or
Yeah.
building a nonprofit or getting a bachelor's degree or and
Just
then
channel that energy into something positive.
eventually I would crack.
Yeah. Not necessarily like figuring out the root cause.
Never.
Yeah.
No, like
Right.
everything was about my physical health. It was
Because that's what you
because
could
I got
pinpoint.
hurt
That's what you could
that I was
pinpoint.
so miserable.
Right.
And then as my physical health got better and as my awareness of how my behavior affected the students that I was working with got better, I started to take that same level of intensity and focus that I had put onto my physical recovery and put it onto my mental recovery.
Yeah.
And that was when the program totally changed.
Right. So is that when More Than Fitness was born?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when I recognized that I could use the weight room and the attitude of lifting weights as a vehicle to express all of these things that worked for me
Yeah.
to improve my mental health, and that the students would latch on to that. It's the weightlifting is the vehicle.
Right.
It's not what I really care about.
Right.
I'm not worried about how strong they
Right.
are.
Right.
I
And how
want
many
them
reps
to-
they did.
No, yeah,
No.
I want them to have the skills to be able to manage the challenges that inevitably they're gonna see.
Totally. Totally. That's a beautiful thing. So what's day one More Than Fitness look like? Like the day that you're like, I'm going to put the brand on this. I'm going to call it a name. Like, how do we get to that point?
Yeah, so I used to say I'm just hanging out with kids in the weight room.
Yeah.
Like, that was what I called
Yeah.
it for a long time, and Mount Pleasant was really supportive in me just kind of
Doing your
figuring it
thing.
out and
Mhm.
working, and I was doing it as a volunteer too, so they loved
Oh,
that.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
The state loves volunteers. And then it got to a place where like I had bigger plans for it, and somebody actually gave me the name. I used to work at this summer camp, Camp Nakamixon up in Pennsylvania, and the owner, Gary Glazer, was like, "It's More Than Fitness,
Right.
like your last name, more."
Yeah.
And I was like,
That just clicked. That just clicked. I didn't even realize that. That's cool. That's really cool.
"Yeah, we're More Than Fitness, and I'm Coach Moore."
Yeah, I love that. That just clicked just now. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. All right, so we should start the podcast over. Now I understand. No. I love that. That's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and so when that happened,
It was like,
when I had the name and when I was getting to a place where I felt like, it was just, the school district was not restricting me. It
no,
was just not the right setting
it's
for
not
me
your
to grow.
place. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you're not going to invest in equipment or a program. Like, it's not your space. It's not your,
Exactly.
yeah,
They've continued to be really supportive. And so at that point, I was like, I'm going to do this for real.
right. Take it to the next level.
I left the district and was like, this is what I'm
Yeah.
going to do.
Yeah,
I retired from the Army. I'm not like rich. I make enough money to have a roof over my head and to eat. And I was like, I will be okay.
yeah,
I had this blessing of being able to take that risk to start a company.
yeah,
And that's what we did. And slowly but surely, we've grown to where we are now. I mean, at first I was like borrowing gym space. CrossFit Diamond State, Gia over there, who's the owner, was really good to me in the beginning. And she graciously gave of whenever the space was available. And then I got this spot that we have now through, I could talk for another 2 hours
Right.
about the property that we're on right now. We got that space and then continued to grow. And once we were in a permanent spot, it was like, okay, now is the real deal.
Right.
People know where we are. This is where they go after school.
Right.
Then we got vans so that we could pick them up from school,
Wow.
get them to the property, and
Cool.
then take them home. And so we've just continued to grow from there.
Who's your target? Not your target, but who are you helping the most? Like, what's
Yeah.
their demographic
The school district helps to identify the students that they think will fit,
and benefit?
and it's the students whose grades or behavior keep them out of being able to participate in after school activities.
Sure.
It's the students who sit in the back of the class with their hood up,
Right. And their headphones in. Yeah.
and they're not paying any attention. It's the kids
It's
that
who you
have
were.
outbursts.
Right. It's maybe who you were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no
No.
coincidence that
Yeah.
like my role model is Coach Holmes. I want everybody to call me Coach Moore.
Right.
That I'm working with the same students. I mean, it's a real blessing to be able to come back full circle and,
Yeah.
and do for however many kids that really connect with me what somebody did for me.
Yeah. Are you working with adults as well?
Yeah,
Is it
so we have-
limited to students?
So we have like a billion programs now.
Wow.
At
Yeah.
first, we just did the high school students program.
Sure.
And then because of that success and because of the space and because of we got a couple of good grants, so like our space is getting nicer and nicer, but it's already pretty nice.
Yeah.
Other people come and they're like, "Oh, how can I do
Right.
something like this?" So we now have a program for people with disabilities, an adapted fitness program
Wow.
that Kirsten McCartney runs, who's a doctor of physical therapy student from University of Delaware. It was her program. She found me. I loved what she was doing. The property that we own has a history of serving people with disabilities. And so I was really supportive in bringing them on. And,
No brainer.
yeah, and eventually it's just, we'll write the grants, you run the program. It's a great
Yeah.
partnership. I had people come out of the woodworks that were part of my life that see what we're doing and they want to help. My friend from high school, another Mount Pleasant graduate, Nick Totaro, just kept showing up. Like, how can I help? How can I help?
He's a good dude. Such a good dude.
Yeah, and now he runs our community program.
Awesome.
We offer 3 nights a week for adults,
Wow.
some sort of version of
And this
what
is
the
free.
students are getting. Everything is free.
Yeah.
We don't charge for any of our programs. We have good funding from the state. I mean, we could always get
Have more.
funding.
Yeah,
from
sure.
grants. We're working on really building out like our ability to let people help us. I was like, leave me alone. I was
I got
hiding
it. Right.
back in the corner. And now we have a website and you can donate and we encourage the people who come and partake in our free programs that can afford to donate. But I don't want cost to be a barrier to
No.
entry.
Right.
Certainly for our students, none of our students would be able to afford anything like
Right.
what a CrossFit gym costs
No way.
to have a membership.
Some normal people can't afford it.
Most people can't afford it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everything you're doing is amazing, and we were just saying, like, this, we can only really scratch the surface in like a 30 to 40 minute podcast. So definitely would encourage people to kind of like do their own research, follow you guys on Instagram, see all the amazing things that you guys are doing. I think there's 2 main things that like I can really relate to you on. One is I tore my ACL 2 times, and I'm a Black Ops girl. Not currently. I'm a mom with 2 kids, and my life's insane, so I'm not currently there. But I'm like very much a Black Ops girl, and my second ACL tear, I was in the gym every day, even after surgery, because like my mental health couldn't handle sitting on the couch. And I think fitness is such a beautiful place to like channel that energy, especially with like the mental health crisis that we're in. Like, we're super involved with Sean's house, Unlock the Light. Our friend Sean Locke committed suicide. D1 athlete at the top, the pinnacle, like you were talking about the Super Bowl, like he went to the what am I trying to say? The tournament, and was at the top, graduates, and now is like no purpose. Probably very similar to like you coming home. So it's definitely a cause that's like near and dear to our heart. And I think having people like you out there that are trying to make a difference is such a beautiful thing. Tell us about your thoughts on like our mental health crisis that we have going on. Like, what can we do as a society, besides what you're doing? Like, how can normal people just like get involved and help and make a difference?
Yeah. My opinion on what to do about the mental health crisis is for kind of everybody to recognize that, like, we all have problems. It's
Yeah.
all a challenge. I say regularly to people, like, I'm a huge proponent of therapy for myself. I'm medicated. I'm in recovery. I do a 12-step program.
Yeah.
I'm all over my mental health,
Yeah.
and that allows me to be able to help anybody else. Most of us, at least from my perspective, have work to do. If I stop doing work, then I shouldn't be telling anybody what
Yeah.
they should be doing.
Yeah.
Um, and the more that it can be normalized, the more that just talking about being sad,
Yeah.
talking about being frustrated, and being able to empathize with one another. Like, the more and more that I work with these students, the more that I recognize that they have such similar problems. The more vulnerable that they are, the more connected that they feel to one another. You know, I could be on my soapbox about this forever, but, like, my advice is to take care of yourself and then get to know the people who live next to you, and don't talk about like bullshit.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
who fucking cares what the weather is,
Right.
or who won the game, or who, like, talk to them about who they are and connect. A huge part of me being happy and feeling purposeful and feeling fulfilled in my life is based on my deep connections to other people,
Yeah.
actually knowing them.
Right. Have the hard conversations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and show each other that it's okay to be, like you said to me. I don't know if you said it on camera or off camera.
Yeah.
Like, I appreciate how vulnerable you are. What I am right now, I would consider to be pretty guarded
Hmm.
in comparison to
What you
how
could be.
I normally am.
Right.
I am usually totally and completely vulnerable.
Right.
Um, and am free as a result of that. I feel so much better. I feel like a 500-pound barbell that had been on my back my whole life
Totally.
is off.
Yeah.
And, like, the less I pay attention to it, the more it
Yeah.
builds up.
Yeah. And I think it starts with the little things, right? Like, I'm in a mom book club and there's like 10 of us. And I think the first like 3 or 4 times we met, it was just this like, oh, I love being a mom and my husband's amazing. And like my kids sleep through the night and blah, 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 blah. And by like the 3rd or 4th meeting, I was like, I'm just going to lead by example. Like, I'm just going to go first. And I was just like, I'm having a hard time. Like, my kids aren't sleeping. I don't know who I am anymore. Like, I've totally lost my identity. I'm literally I'm struggling. Right. And the second I did that, it was just kind of like the spiral of like, me too, or I went through that, or when I had postpartum anxiety. Right. And like, from that moment on, I think our book club really changed. Like, we just went and saw It Ends With Us, which is a movie about domestic violence, right? Like, we're really kind of, I think we're 2 years in on this little mom book club, but I think like the possibilities are now endless. But somebody had to like make that first step to like stop, again, like putting a bow on your life. Like, it's not perfect. We're not perfect. Like, we're all going through stuff. And I think it just like somebody has to just go first. And once you do, I'm sure you experienced this in the weight room. Like, once you kind of like break that wall down, it's just like, boom, like the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I mean, that I've done a lot of learning and a lot of experience. I don't know that I'm any kind of expert, but from all of the time that I've spent, what you just described is the is the thing that we have the most control over,
Right.
as far as doing something
Hmm.
to address the fact that everyone is just suffering.
Yeah. Just trying to get by.
equally.
Yeah, just trying to get by. And maybe your problems seem like less, right? Like, maybe you have a friend whose grandmother just passed away and, you know, whatever, insert their issues in your mind. You're trying to compare and, oh, I don't get to be sad. Like, I think sometimes I'll convince myself like, you know, I'm so successful and I have so much and my life's amazing. Like, why am I complaining? But I think those are the people that deep down are like probably suffering the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I experience this pretty regularly, where someone will be talking to me like about an injury that they sustained, or like mental health challenge, and they're like, they dismiss themselves
Yes.
based on
While they're saying it.
based on the fact that I am so
Right.
open. Like,
It's so much harder.
yeah,
Your
my
life is
problems are
harder.
hard,
Right.
you know?
Right.
Like, no, they're not.
No.
It's all relative.
Yes.
Everything, my experiences on deployment, what physiologically happens in my mind, and the patterns and behaviors that I have are no different from the person who got rear-ended or almost got rear-ended. Like the brain reacts the
same way. Totally.
And so,
Totally.
and I mean, especially as a man, the culture is not,
Right. Rub some dirt in
no,
it.
I'm good. Like, don't
No.
worry about it.
Yeah. Shake it off.
As a man who, I mean, I've done some pretty masculine things.
Yeah.
Uh,
Probably the most masculine.
yeah, maybe. I suffered for a long time trying to maintain that masculinity. And
Yeah.
when I started to show who I really was and to express my suffering, my whole life changed. And now I think I'm more respected than I was before. I think I'm definitely more productive in my job. I'm better with all of my personal relationships with my parents, with my brother, with my friends, with my employees,
Wow.
with everyone.
Yeah.
But like I was terrified to do that at first. You know, my identity was being a soldier, and soldiers are tough and can
Right.
handle this. And I've never had anyone like ever express to me that now they think less of me because
No.
I talk about my problems.
No, if anything, they
Never.
respect you more.
Yeah, most of the time people are like,
Wow.
"Whoa,
Right.
oh my goodness."
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there was any like message or anything in that. Most of the time, my like messages and lessons are in telling stories,
Yeah.
what my experience was, and being vulnerable, whether that's to lead the way for other people to be vulnerable or just to give people insight that like everybody feels this.
Yeah. It's okay to
Everybody-
not be
yeah,
okay.
everybody feels
Yeah,
fucked
totally.
up, you know.
Yeah.
I look like, I mean, I do this all the time. I do it as a job. I take care of my mental health as a job.
Yeah.
And there are days where I'm like, fuck this, fuck you, don't talk to me. I'm slamming get out of my fucking face. The difference now is that maybe lasts like an hour.
Right. As opposed to a
It
month.
used to last,
Yeah. Weeks.
I mean, it lasted like 4 years.
Years. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Well, God bless you. You're amazing. I mean, I don't think I can like now pivot this to be like, what's your favorite coffee shop? Because it's obviously a super intense conversation. So I think where I want to leave it is like, how can someone like me get involved? Like, how can someone like normal person, maybe you're super busy, you can come up with all the excuses, right? Like, how can someone like me support you guys?
Yeah, we just say like, show up,
Yeah.
come to the campus. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday night at 6 o'clock, we have community workouts.
Awesome.
Like all of the people that are consistent volunteers or part-time employees or full-time employees all started by just
Coming to that.
being around.
Yeah.
And then whatever they like and whatever's valuable to the students, they do it.
Find
And
their niche,
we figure out a way to pay them, or they do it for free, or
volunteer or whatever.
whatever. It's,
Yeah.
There's a real, we're in the beginning of like being able to build a community around this property.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you want to be involved, just
Show up.
check us out. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll tag you guys in all of this. And hopefully, I think with this platform, we're hoping to just like give you an audience that maybe you didn't already have. I think there's some crossover. Obviously, it's literally Wilmington, Delaware, and we all know each other. So there's definitely some crossover, but I think my number one goal with this is just like open you guys up to maybe an audience that doesn't know about you. And then for sure, I think our team will be showing out and showing some support soon.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on. Anything you want to leave us with? How do we follow you on social media? All that kind of fun stuff. I'm sure you're
I don't know.
with social media.
Find us on our website.
Yeah.
I don't know. Somebody else does it.
Somebody
for me.
runs that for you.
We'll text you or whatever.
We'll find you.
Social media is bad for your mental health.
Yeah, facts.
Just make sure that you
Yeah.
only follow good stuff and
True.
set that limit on there.
Yeah.
15 minutes, you're done.
Yeah.
Be done. Don't
Good.
get in the rabbit hole.
Good. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Coach Jeremy Moore, it was amazing to have you. And yeah, I'm excited to show some support soon. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks.